Wanna Wanga.
What did you say?
They Wanna Wanga.
I would certainly like to.
They Wanna Wanga.
Oh, I don't think so.
What did you say?
He's yelling. He's holding me back.
They Wanna Wanga.
What did you say?
They wanna
What did you say?
They Wanna Wanga.
I would certainly like to.
They Wanna Wanga. They Wanna Wanga. Wanga. They Wanna Wanga. Wanga. They Wanna Wanga. Wanga. They Wanna Wanga. Wanga. They want no Wanga. No Wanga. They want no Wanga. They want Wanga. They want no Wanga. No Wanga. They want no Wanga. They want Wanga.
I want more,
Wanga.
and I know I shouldn't, and I know I shouldn't. I want more,
Wanga.
and I know I shouldn't, and I know I shouldn't. I want more,
Wanga.
and I know I shouldn't, and I know I should. More,
Wanga.
more,
Wanga.
more.
Hey guys, Rich from Rich Mid Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastically well. Welcome to this, a slightly belated, both in the time that it should have started and also by a week because I was away last week, episode of Wanna Wanga, the Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast. We're going to be going through a couple of things on this video, and to join me, as always, to go through all of our Star Wars things is, of course, the Roncore Ron Walker, and of course, Quindoc, aka Mace Quindu. How you doing, guys?
Fuck you too.
I won't do what you tell me. Oh, quite an exciting week this week, guys, isn't it? We definitely did well with the little break. There was no news, and then boom, two, I think, pretty big hitters that are going to be in Shatterpoint with Natalie and Chad, as we're calling them. Quinn's gone. Ron, how are you been, buddy?
Not bad, dude. Thank you.
Good. You managed to get much Shatterpointing in?
No.
Boo. Have you been? You been doing any painting? Are you caught up? What's the current sitch on the painting front?
I have the Night Sisters are almost finished.
Nice.
Same with Barris and Luminara. Savage is untouched. Everything else is done.
Nice. Yeah, I sped paint my Night Sisters box, or Dathomir box, for the event at Leodis at the weekend. And I'm still working on old Obi. Oldish Obi. He's not quite old man Ben, is he? He's like somewhat before then.
It's Salt and Pepper Ewan.
It's Salt and Pepper Ewan. There we go. Salt and Pepper Ewan. Dave, hope you're well. Daz, hope you're good. Otis, hope you are good, buddy. Time for the rave again. The hut rave again. John Vickery, good evening to you too. It's definitely my favourite pod intro. I genuinely don't think there's a better podcast intro out there. I think it's an I just found the song by accident, and I'm super happy that I did. So yeah, a little bit to go through. We've got a couple of brand new primary characters to break down. One that is probably my most anticipated character outside of the Rebels box that we're going to get. That was announced when the game was sort of in the first few weeks of the game sort of being announced, or the big reveals that they did. And one that I couldn't care less about, the box that I care about the least. And as I predicted, she ends up being really bloody good. Of course she goes, because she's got the Galactic Republic tag. But we are Midlife Crisis Obi. Something like that. So let's start then, guys. In fact, Quinn, I didn't ask how you were doing. How have you been, Quinn? Because you just walked off and left us.
I had to brush off to get an Amazon delivery because my earphones have been
really shit with my phone lately, so I've had to buy some new ones.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Guys, there's 20 or so of you in the chat. If you could leave a like, it'd be really appreciated. Let's get down then and take a look at Queen Padmé Amidala. Now, it's fair to say that with both of these characters or units, we don't have the rest of their boxes. It's easier to see how good Amidala will be than it is Cad Bane, I think, because Cad Bane may be reliant on some of the bounty hunters. But let's break her down anyway. So she's going to bring 8 squad points. She's going to bring 3 force with her. Queen Padmé Amidala, obviously Padmé Amidala being her name, and she is a singular primary unit, or a single character primary unit. No tactics, but she does have 1 active ability. Royal, and it's a good job this wasn't a tactic, guys, because could you imagine if this was Royal Command? It's going to cost 1 force, and it says choose an allied Galactic Republic unit. Each character in the chosen unit may advance. Like, Ron, I'll let you start off. For 1 power, getting... Sorry, for 1 force, power, whatever. 1 credit.
Just for that one guy that doesn't
one credit. For 1 Imperial credit. That's what they should have called it. They should have used Imperial credits in this, not
No, because then
force.
you have characters that turn around and go, your Republic credits are useless here.
Useless here, yeah. Ron, how good is it to be able to... I mean, 1 for 1 is good anyway, right? We've seen it on other characters where being able to just advance is so good. But being able to do this on a support unit, no range restriction, how good is this at getting units up the board early doors?
This might be the best active ability in the game, straight up.
What? You're trying to tell me that it's better than the Grand Inquisitors? I'm going to flip that objective.
Or Luminar Brain.
Yeah, it's nowhere near as good as Sprint. Like, come on, guys. Luminara's OP. She needs nerf.
I love how Grandmaster Jedi Luminara cannot move quite as far as Padmé.
Well, no, Padmé just shouts at people and gets shit done. Like, that's the difference. Like, Padmé just, peer pressures people into advancing into laser fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Quinn, thoughts on this? Do you go as far as Ron as to say it's maybe the best active ability in the game right now?
I don't know. I'm still partial to, and I'm going to end this, or a hello there, personally. But it is damn good.
It really, really is, isn't it? And the fact that you can use it on herself as well, and there's no range thing, it's going to be one that I think, a little bit like hello there, you are going to want to ensure you have a force in the bank to make sure that when you do activate Padmé, that you've got the force to be able to do this, right? Because it's so impactful.
Even if this was a dash, it would still be incredible.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And the fact it's a full advance is just...
Yeah, it's crazy.
Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. And it really does open her up the possibilities, doesn't it, to... And we talk about this a lot, how a character who can potentially affect 2 objectives within their activation, there's a lot of value in that, because not everyone can. She can do, I was just going to say she could potentially be doing up to 3, and when we get into the rest of her card, you'll see how impactful that is as well. Reactive ability, coordinated fire, double damage. When a character in an allied handmaiden unit makes an attack as part of a combat action, before dice are rolled, this unit may use this ability. If the target character is within 5 of a character in this unit, the target suffers 2 damage. Less flexibility than other coordinated fires, which are attached to obviously support units, so you can have them on different parts of the board, but the handmaidens, from everything we gather about this game, are going to be stuck to Amidala a little bit like glue, right, to protect her. So I find it rare that you're not going to be able to get this off. And 2 damage that isn't blocked by protection or anything like that is just pretty darn good. Would you agree, Quinn?
Yeah, like it's interesting seeing coordinate fire on a unit that isn't a support. It's also interesting that it's for a unit that Padmé doesn't share a tag with. Feels like that something a little bit weird there, just because all of the clones have
Could you
Republic.
imagine if it said Galactic Republic unit? Jesus Christ!
They're pretty good. I mean, in regard to that, I assume the Handmaidens are going to have the Republic tag as well, because otherwise Royal Command wouldn't work on them. So in that regard, it's going to be quite interesting to have like Handmaidens just really focus fire someone, and you get 2 triggers of coordinated fire, one off of each of the attacks.
No, because it's a reactive ability, so you're only going to be able to use it once, right?
No. So
Yeah, but
she
both
uses
characters
it once.
attack.
Yeah, she uses it once. Then the other support unit, like your ARF troopers, use it and give an exposed in addition.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Like your first Handmaiden shoots, you expose with ARF troopers. Bam, that's resolved. Then other one shoots. Padmé does the 2 damage in. Other Handmaiden shoots. I can't imagine that Handmaidens are going to be like slouches in terms of offensive output, so they could be like genuine just assassin character killers.
Do we think they're going to have a range? I'm trying to think of the models now. Are they going to have a range
They've
attack?
got guns.
Have they got some blasters?
One
on
of them
advert?
is pointing a gun. The other one is drawing a gun.
I always saw the Handmaidens as being more like close combat specialists.
You think
like,
they're just like bright orange ninjas, don't you?
just ninjas? Yeah. I mean, they are heavily trained, right? They're some of the most elite units in the Galactic Republic.
And I think that is something that people very often forget with regard to Padmé as a character, is that she has like full-on legit spec ops training, as do all the other Handmaidens. But there's a reason she's always going off and doing stuff during the Clone Wars in the show.
And she doesn't have to get rescued by Anakin that often.
She gets rescued by Anakin about half the time, but still.
She is the equivalent of Liam Neeson's daughter in Taken, right? Let's be honest. Every single time she goes out, Liam Neeson, or well, not Liam Neeson, Anakin gets the phone call. I need collecting.
I mean, initially it was Liam Neeson that answered the phone.
It was Liam Neeson that answered the phone.
Qui-Gon.
Yeah. Well, that's why we brought that full circle there, Quinn. I like it. Ron, what's your thoughts on, I suppose, coordinated fire just generally being on a non-support character?
It's just good. I don't really know what else to say. It becomes pretty shit if the Handmaidens suck, but I can't see that happening. So it's just essentially 2 free damage every time the Handmaidens activate. And you can't really snuff at that.
Yeah, two damages. I would say on average the equivalent of getting like 1 additional success for the most part.
Roughly,
because most of them have, most options on a tree. On average, I would say have 2 on there, right? It's not always 2 damage. It's sometimes a damage and a shove, or a damage and a condition, or something like that. But it feels like that's what it is, and the fact that it is just 2 damage, and the fact that, as we mentioned, it can't be blocked by protection or anything crazy like that is pretty nice. But yeah, I really like it. I hadn't thought, Quinn. Is there any rule around shared names of coordinated fire? There's not, is there? Because it's coming from a different character, so
They're completely different sources.
yeah. So yeah, innate ability. She's a crack shot. She's got Sharpshooter 2, and she kind of has the same thing as Django, but she gets the dash instead of the jump when she makes a focus action. Really, really nice from a action economy standpoint.
Yeah, but Django doesn't have Sharpshooter.
Well, no, Django doesn't even have Sharpshooter, does he? Yeah, but Cody does.
Cody is a sniper.
I mean,
I would say Django's more of a gunslinger than a sharpshooter. I don't know if that feels right.
I mean, you've brought up Cody, so now I have to say it. Why doesn't Cody have crack shot instead of what he's got?
I know, it'd be so much better, wouldn't it?
Make him genuinely playable.
Yeah. I mean, they have to sell me this box somehow. It's definitely not because they are cool. Yeah, dear, I've got to admit, this is this is the box, I was just like, oh, what? You know, you just think like just all the characters in the Star Wars universe that I want to be in this game. I can't think of anyone less than Padmé Amidala in her handguards. There definitely is. But
I mean, there definitely are. Like,
there definitely are.
You want like Sebulba and the pit droids.
It'd be fun.
I mean, like, I'm more annoyed that they've gone with this particular version of Padme. Because everything else in the game that's sort of been set in the prequel era has been, like, Clone Wars based. Because that's the big conflict of that time. I would have liked Senator Amidala with Captain Typho and, like, the just Naboo Guard, rather than, you know, episode 1, we're talking a very strange accent.
Yeah, I think
the handmaidens if they don't do this though.
Yeah, I agree with Ron. I think that's the reason why, right?
Do a Vader box with Sabe and the handmaidens from when.
But
from
because they've done a Phantom Menace box, it's a good chance we get Gungans.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Gungans are 100% happening.
Of all of like the dumb sort of alien species in Star Wars that actually fight, like, you know, your Ewoks, your Gungans, that sort of thing. Gungans are the ones that I would be happiest to see and would genuinely play. Just
well, we know we're getting Ewoks, so they're
exactly.
I
don't care about
them.
Okay,
Ron.
Fuck Ewoks.
Ron loves them furry
Fuck
little
Ewoks.
fuckers, don't you, Ron? So yeah.
I like Captain Tarpals, bit of Jar Jar. Like, I want Jar Jar as a secondary, not a primary, but I don't know.
Yeah, obviously Force User was the tag, right?
Oh no, Sith.
Yeah, Sith and Force User.
Yeah.
Darth Jar Jar.
Darth Jar Jar. But yeah, look, I think Crackshot's really nice. As I mentioned, it's, you know, action economy is never a bad thing. And that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, it gives her a 10 dice shot.
Yeah, which is not to be sniffed at. I mean, her damage output isn't the best, but I mean, look at the pistol she's holding. Like, you know.
But like, that's an equivalent to an Obi-Wan Halo, and it doesn't cost a force.
Has less that she can do with it, but yeah.
I mean, she can roll that number of dice. It's a question of how good at combat trees are, right?
Yes, that is also true.
But it's also in range 4.
Yeah, that is definitely a factor. So.
Qui-Gon and Padawan Obi are definitely a possibility. I'd like to see that Justice Reynolds. I think that'd be good.
I think it'll be a dual pack.
Yeah, and it will literally be Duel of the Fates, and it'll be Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan v Maul.
Yeah, Apprentice Maul, Apprentice Obi-Wan.
And that's how you get Apprentice Qui-Gon. Maul to run alongside Darth Sidious or whatever you want to call
Talzin.
him. Well, I mean, you can run him along Talzin as well, but yeah. Oh, imagine that. That sounds lovely, doesn't it?
You and your damn Dathomirians.
Oh, just think of Darth Maul with all his legs intact. Like,
imagine
it's been a while.
not being like. Imagine not playing the best faction.
Oh, Republic.
Republic, we have the Jedi. We have
for the Republic. For the Republic.
Jesus. But I'm also not a Separatist player either. I'm someone that is just playing something while I wait for the weird
furry
stuff.
little fuckers.
Whilst you wait for... Wait, let me do it.
There we go. That's the one. I'd argue the Naboo aesthetic is in Star Wars for a lot of people who grew up... I'd argue the Naboo aesthetic is Star Wars for a lot of people who grew up in the late 90s, 2000s. Padme and co are for them, in my opinion. Eoin 100% agree. Like, you know, even for not for people who grew up there. Like, I remember watching. I went to go watch. What the hell is it called? Phantom Menace. There we go. I couldn't even. But I think I went to the cinema to watch that about 10 times. Like, it might be my most viewed film at the cinema. But for me, I'd never. They didn't used to do Star Wars reruns. I wasn't born, believe it or not, Quinn, when the original Star Wars trilogy came out. So that was like my first Star Wars movie
you were born
experience.
Before it, right?
I can hear you talk. Loz, what do you want? You're waving at me.
Moot, you said, Ron.
I'm on YouTube.
Right. Let's get into Servant of the People. While this unit is not wounded, which is something we'll talk about in a second, and while one or more characters in this unit are contesting an active objective, if this unit's active stance is faith and diplomacy, Allied Galactic Republic supporting characters can contest the same active objective even while they are wounded. And then when this unit is not wounded, if this unit's active stance is aggressive negotiations, Allied Republic supporting characters within range 4 add 1 die to their attack rolls. Quinn, I'm going to start with you. I like the fact that it's double-sided, and I like the fact that it's, there's 2 parts to it. Interesting that this is the first identity in the game that is reliant on the character to be either not wounded, well, just to be not wounded, right? I was going to say
identity, yes.
Yes, that's what I mean. Identity. All other identities in the game carry on through, irrespective. First of all, what are your thoughts on that? And then we'll get into the actual ability itself.
I think it's interesting. It's an interesting way to sort of like have 2 identities that are maybe like 75% of the way they're in power, but equally you're getting access to both of them, so that like probably bumps it up to be equal to or greater than a single identity. I think a lot of people are going to be really fond of the faith and diplomacy one.
Yeah.
I am not one of those people. It's 1 point. I don't really care. It has to be the point that she's standing on, so...
This is why you lose games!
No. Like, Like, the extra dice.
And there we go. There we go. There's
like
the money shot. There's the money shot.
Bring me the hammer.
Yeah, that's what clones needed, a Kalani.
Yeah. So, Ron, what's your thoughts on it? On both parts, the fact that she's got to be not wounded, and either of the parts of her ability.
The not wounded part, I understand. If it didn't have that stipulation, she may be just point blank the best primary in the game. It's just way too strong. 1 dice is okay for me. Faith and diplomacy is where it's at. Being able to count Galactic Republic supporting characters that are wounded as contesting is massive, especially in struggles 2 and 3.
Yeah,
where
it
there's
really
only
is.
3 points, and it's just you're that spread out anyway. It's just it's really good.
And the fact that she can make those wounded characters advance at the beginning of her activation as well, to make sure they're on the point. I think for me, how good this will be, and it is good, but right now I look at it and go, if I come up against Amidala in a list, the first thing you focus firing her, right? That's what you're doing. I think how good the Handmaidens and Sabe, yeah, how good they are at essentially bodyguarding her will very much determine how much survivability she's got, which in turn will determine, how good servant as the people is, right? Because, she's got some, and we'll get onto a stance cards in a minute, but, she's got some, 9-3 is okay, but 9 health is, on the lower side for primary characters. We know that even with good expertise nowadays, there is an abundance of pre-attack exposers that can be put out there. So it just nullifies all of that anyway.
Some would say too much.
I mean, you would, yeah.
Anyone with a brain would say too much.
For the man that likes murdering things, you'd think, Ron, he'd have more of an appreciation.
Yeah, but he don't like his own shit game.
There we go.
I like it when I can punch down. I don't like it when it's an even fight. That's not allowed.
But I think that will have the biggest impact. Quinn, the other day, when these got released, I think me and you were actually going through Chad's card, weren't we? And then you went, oh, Amidala's here as well.
Well, actually, Phil messaged me and went, I like Padmé. And I was like, is he just saying that out of the blue because he likes Natalie Portman?
He really likes Natalie Portman, yeah. But I think that will have a big impact. But we spoke about how, if they had something daft like the bodyguard that the Magna Guards have, but at range, that could be stupid.
If they had intercede, but it was called decoy and worked on range attacks instead of melee, which I think is definitely the design space they're going to occupy.
And if the handmaidens don't have it, I think Sade will.
Same, yeah. I think one of them's going to have something like that, aren't they? I mean, you couple them up with the Magna Guard actually, and she's never dying, right? So yeah, I think that'll have a big impact. Her survivability, I think, will have a big impact as to how good Servant of the People is. But Servant of the People is still very, very good, even if she doesn't have any additional support when it comes to survivability.
I think it also comes down a lot down to skill level. I think she's going to be. She's very much not a point and click.
No.
You're going to have to get some reps in there to really understand the flow.
Is that why
how
I
she
don't
works.
like her?
Yeah, probably.
You're an animal. You need a point and click.
So let me ask you this question, guys, because obviously we were all there for the most part at the beginning of MCP. It feels like they're introducing a lot more characters, to your point, Ron, that do need some reps, do need a higher skill level to play fully effectively, a lot earlier in this game than they did with MCP, right? Because really, we're 2 months since release. We're only really at the point of having outside the core box MODOK, Hulk, Thor, Asgard, and Wakanda.
We had
right? I think
Wakanda
that's
and Asgard.
Yeah, which
yeah.
They're all point click.
That's my point. It feels like they've, and then even after that, you had Black Order, you had Guardian. It wasn't until we got a lot further into the game
Strange.
where, Strange, Convocate, those sorts of ones. Criminal Syndicate, I would say, was maybe the first sort of full affiliation that did need you to do a little bit more.
You mean, go stand on a point and just count two?
Yeah, fair point. Fair point.
5 head thinking needed there. Gee.
But yeah, I do find it interesting. I
could say my affiliation. That was turning point, really, wasn't it?
What,
that's when you needed
humans?
to be really fucking good.
What, you can give anyone a power at any point?
Oh
no, I've messed up my numbers, have a power.
I don't know, man. Inhumans on launch had Ultimate User.
That is true. Yeah,
I think
they
much
had
thinking going on there.
Still no one played them.
I played them.
It was more an A-Force release.
Yeah, this is true. So let's scroll down and take a look then at her 2 stance cards. Let's start with Aggressive Negotiations, because that's the one that is on the left. 7565 for ranged and melee. Range 4, which how they decide who gets what range in this game just baffles me.
Makes no sense.
In my head, blaster pistols, range 4, blaster rifles, range 5.
The only characters that should really have range 5 are Cody 212, maybe Commandos, and Gus Saxon.
No, Night Sisters, man, they can shoot them bows for days.
Yeah, I'm sure they can shoot their bows way further than a fucking.
The Ewoks are gonna have range 5, right?
Oh yeah, I know.
Spear chokers.
Okay. 5s across the board for defense is okay. 7 at range is pretty nice. Damage output there, we're looking at 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. So, Quinn, we spoke about this as well. She does suffer from the fact that there are going to be a lot of support characters out there that even if she rolls the best roll in the world, she's not going to be able to take out in a single attack. Which I think is fine because she does a whole bunch of other stuff. And I think you said, if Luminara had a gun, she'd be so much better. And I do think that, I do feel like that at range, because you're at range, then that's kind of okay if you can't one-shot a character.
Yeah, I mean, it helps you effectively because you have more opportunities to make attacks over the course of a game with a character that has a gun as opposed to, is melee only. It probably evens out in terms of overall damage output throughout the course of the game because there will be, especially in the early activations, there will be times where your melee characters just can't get a swing in, and effectively that attack is non-existent, right?
You look at Ventress. She's only 1 damage off topping out as Ventress, and she's only 1 damage off topping out what Ventress averagely gets anyway. So Ventress averages 6 damage, 3 results. Padmé gets 5 damage and a shove with 3 results, but this is on a shot at range 4.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I just think I think there's something when a primary can't take out a support character, and
you got to think as well. She doesn't have a lightsaber.
I was going to say, especially when you're wielding a lightsaber as well. Like fucking hell, Luke.
There's a reason no one plays Ventress.
There's a reason no one. No, wait, actually, no. People do play Luminara because they're idiots. Never mind.
I saw you playing it the other night, Quinn. What does that say?
Yeah.
It didn't go well.
I was playing it in a friendly game. I wasn't taking it to an event, was I?
Let's take a quick look at her expertise then. So at range with her ELG 2A blaster pistol, 1 for 1, 1 and a hit for 2, and then 2 and a hit for 3. That's pretty fucking good. Like, that's just really good, in my opinion. Like, anytime you throw crits in there,
just great.
Yeah.
1 crit, 1 expertise. For the most part, it means that you're getting a damage. You're getting at least 1 success through, right? 1, 2, 3 hits for quick thinking. Again, even though this is her, less. I mean, I suppose actually her melee is identical in terms of dice she rolls on either side. I think that's fine. Obviously, having no crits in there hurts her a little bit. But for me, her defensive training is pretty damn good as well. The fact that she's got those extra heals in there, I think, is really nice. And the fact that she tops out at 5, which it always feels really bad when you get some, especially primary characters, and they're topping out at 4, and you roll 5 expertise, and you're like, God damn it. That would have just been so much nicer.
Or come back to me when you feel the pain of 3 with Dooku and Obi-Wan.
That is also true as well. Yeah, but they're pretty good 3s.
Nah, they're awful.
Terrible characters.
Yeah.
D tier. So that defensive training is pretty darn good. Ron, thoughts on aggressive negotiations?
I think this is what you maybe keep her in for the first struggle, and then you likely flip into faith in diplomacy on her second activation. Mainly because you want to be able to count wounded supports as contesting, but it also is slightly better defensively, in my opinion. Yeah, you lose out on a block in her defensive training, but you get an extra recover, and if we assume that the handmaidens and Saber are going to have some sort of bodyguard ability, being able to recover them back up if somehow something does get through, it's just really good in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it'll be, as always, right? It's always in the moment specific. If you need to flip to faith because it's going to, score you an extra
point. The big thing really is conditions. I'll put a strain and a disarm on you. Oh, I rolled 2 expertise. I'll get rid of them both straight away.
Just get rid of them both straight away. Yeah,
just really good.
Absolutely. So faith and diplomacy then 6.5, 6.5. In terms of damage output, we're looking at 4, 5, 6, 7. So slightly less in terms of damage output, but she does have access to 3 shoves and a pin, which I don't think is to be sniffed at in any way, shape, or form.
Like, you're averaging 3 results on most characters.
Yeah, and
the fact that she has
2
shoves and a pin is insane. Like, it's so good.
I also don't mind 2 expertise for 3. Yes, they're only hits. Strikes. Sorry, I've just been calling them hits. But yeah, 3 strikes is pretty damn good. But yeah, 3 results, 2 shoves, 4 damage and a pin is pretty nice. It's pretty nice. Quinn, what's your overall thoughts on her stances?
Yeah, they're both decent. Like as you both mentioned, having access to multiple shoves with a ranged attack is really, really good. Because once again, like, you know, when you have a primary or a secondary, if they've got the ability to affect multiple points with their activation, then that's kind of the sweet spot you want them to be in, right? You want them to be able to take one with their actual, body and capture weight, and then affect another one with some form of attack or ability, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Overall thoughts then, just scroll back up a second. Overall thoughts on Padmé, Queen Padmé Amidala. Obviously, we don't have the rest of the box, so, it's hard to say everything at the moment, but for me, it feels like even without the box, she slots into Galactic Republic as it is right now, right? She's viable as a primary, just for what she does with Servant of the People and Royal Command for me.
Yep, 100%.
Quinn
mean,
disagrees.
She slots in above Ahsoka and Luminara and beneath the rest. There you go.
Oh, I don't know. I think
she ain't no Jedi General.
I think she brings something very different, and points win games.
They do, but so do Jedi.
Jedi don't always win games.
Lightsaber to the face, mate.
Quinn needs a hammer. She's very much a scalpel.
Yeah, Quinn is most definitely not a scalpel,
She's not a scalpel. She's a throw pillow.
A fucking throw pillow.
Could still kill you.
Well, yeah, you could smother someone with it, but she's not a scalpel, let's be honest.
I'd let her smother me. Anyway. Overall for me, I think she's good. Really surprised they don't have, although we didn't talk about her keywords, but that they haven't, we see the keywords that are on, like, the Clan Kreese Commandos, Clan Kreese Mandalorians, right? And it's, like, coming out of their eyeballs, like, 5 keywords on there and stuff. Surprised that there isn't something else on there.
Though?
Like Naboo?
Yeah, I know, but then who else are releasing that is actually going to make a difference?
Gungans?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Gungans, you could have the other Padmé with Typho and the Royal Guard, like...
We're getting the other Padmé safe.
No.
Spec Ops Padmé.
I want Padmé with a little red cardigan.
She does have a lovely...
She wears the same red cardigan on every mission. If I was around in the prequel era, I'd be like, oh, Padmé's wearing a cardigan again. Something's going on.
Shoot the one with the red cardigan.
Like, no matter what else they release related to Naboo, they are going to have the Galactic Republic tag other than Gungans. And I don't think...
Even Gungans will have the tag.
Gungans, I think, are going to have the tag because they fight for the Galactic Republic.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
It feels like maybe it's a bit of oversight from AMG's part in terms of just having Galactic Republic be this incredibly broad tag. I think I would like it if there was a bit more,
It's like they didn't learn from Avengers and Cabal.
It'd be nice if there was a little bit more specialism to the tags with these bigger factions. You have these sort of micro factions, and then you've got sort of the big players in them that affect everybody.
Well, we already know that Handmaiden's coming with a Handmaiden tag, so it might just be the case of they are limiting certain abilities to certain tags rather than it being a broad tag. Like Galactic Republic is a broad tag, which just means it only really works on the broad abilities. Like Royal Command is quite a broad ability. You can use it on anyone. But Coordinated Fire, Padmé's not going to be doing that with clones. That's why they're giving it the Handmaiden tag.
Yeah. And I think for me, I'm fine if they do get a little bit more granular with that sort of thing. She can be part of the Galactic Republic. So there's a couple of things that she can benefit from. But when it comes to some of the bigger things, Handmaiden only and that sort of thing, I wish they'd have done that with some of the other ones. Some of the other abilities that we've got out there as well.
It would have been nice if the Clone Coordinated Fire had been, instead of Galactic Republic, Grand Army of the Republic. So it was actually people who fought in the Clone Wars that actually benefited. Obviously doesn't really fix the issue with the whole exposed thing, but it'd just be a nice little flavoury thing.
I think we should only get Coordinated Fire with clones off of clones.
Yeah.
then you have to rework the entire way clones work. Because otherwise,
Do it for Garni.
Yeah, exactly. Got it. Chop, chop. Fix all the clones.
Come on now. Yeah, no. So I do agree though, Galactic. But let's be honest, Galactic Republic are the Galactic Republic. Everything that is not separatist Shadow
And
Collective.
it's going to be the same when Empire comes out.
Empire
It's gonna
comes
be,
out.
Oh,
Yeah,
everything is now Galactic Empire.
I mean, to be fair, with Galactic Empire, you do get a lot less flavors because you know
You get Sidious. That's enough.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Joining late, have you covered Cad yet? We have not covered Cad yet, Sean. We're just about
saving
to.
the best till last.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, overall, very strong leader. I think if they get the Handmaidens right and they get Sabe right, which I think they will if this card is anything to go by, I think they're going to be a very, very strong contender. And I like, Quinn, to your point, Ron, to your point, I like they're bringing something else to play in Galactic Republic that is not just clones. Because it's
Or Jedi.
boring. Or Jedi, right? It's nice to have some alternatives.
Best thing about the Republic. What are you on about?
The best thing about the Republic is the day it ended.
Oh, what, you mean the day that was just after Vader
Just
got
after
created?
Vader was born. Yeah, that's
that
the
was
one.
what happened in that movie, right?
Cool. Let's jump on to the one that we all care about.
Oh, you gone for planes?
Cad Bane, Notorious Hunter. So yeah, Cad Bane. I mean, look. First of all, let's look at that artwork. Have you seen a more smug, self-assured, confident bounty hunter in your lifetime? Quinn, what could you? What could you?
Putting a me
hunt?
until you said bounty hunter.
Yeah, I know. Bounty hunter, not McDonald's hunter. And then you don't even hunt them.
No,
you have people bring them to you.
I pay people to bring it to me. I don't go out and hunt.
I've never seen anyone smash a large McDonald's fries as quickly as Quinn does.
I mean, it didn't help that I wanted 3 of them and only got 1.
What?
I did ask for 3.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, Cad Bane, Notorious Hunter, Cad Bane, 9SP, which, a la rules of the way that squads are built in this game, means that Cad Bane should effectively be, on his own card, the worst primary in the game, right? Or the least powerful primary in the game, because that's the way that the points work. The more you can bring, the lesser of a character you are. Brings 2 force with him, which is obviously the big thing why he brings 9, right? I think you give him 1 force, he's an 8 very, very easily. Quinn, thoughts on 9-2 as an initial stat line?
Well, I mean, it's definitely not the worst primary in the game. You can make Luminara a 10 and she still wouldn't be any good.
What, if she could bring...
That's genuinely a joke. Like,
I was going to
Luminara's
say...
not that bad, but I do... I still think she's worse than Cad Bane. I absolutely love what this guy does. 9SP opens up a lot of possibilities with where I'm personally going to run him most often, which is with Deceptus, because that's thematically who he goes with. You know, he works with Deceptus throughout the entire war.
No.
2 force is interesting. He does have ways to get it back, which I think mechanically balances it out and doesn't make it too much of a hindrance. I am also surprised that he's only Fall of the Jedi era.
Yeah, because he does obviously. We see his.
He goes all the way to New Republic.
Yeah, because he's in the Mandalorian, right? Where he.
Oh no,
He gets bossed.
That's his demise.
Yeah. Well, no, his little thing's still blinking and they've got 2 hearts, so he's not dead yet.
If you've not seen the body,
The proper bounty hunter fucks him up.
Yeah.
Embo wasn't there.
Oh, dear Lord. So, Cad Bane, Notorious Hunter. Let's start off because there's a lot on this guy's card to break down, and it is all juicy stuff. Before we do, actually, Bounty Hunter, Mercenary, Scoundrel. I think that's fine. I don't think you can give him the Separatist Alliance tag in the same way that they gave Django it. It doesn't make sense. You know, Django was the father of the clones, but then still obviously, you know, worked for the Separatist Alliance. So
I mean, they both worked for them.
no, but I think Django worked for them on a more exclusive arrangement.
Django was more important in relation to their overall plans, I think.
Yeah.
Is probably the best.
Cad Bane is just a hired gun. Right?
Yeah, exactly. He's gunfire, like, you know, he's got no scruples, which is why he worked with them.
9-3, which I was surprised at when I saw it was going to be a 9-2. I thought we could have seen our first 8 stamina primary character, but I'm glad to see that he's not. I think 9-3 is nice. And then his first active ability, how about you step aside? Costs 1. This might be my favourite active ability in the game. Not necessarily the best, but my favourite. Choose an enemy character within 3 and then active objective it is contesting. The chosen character may dash away from the objective. So that dash, the choice is on your opponent. Then, after any moves are resolved, if the chosen character is no longer contesting the chosen objective, it gains disarm. If the chosen character is still contesting the chosen objective, it gains expose and strain. So, Cad pays a power or a force, and then your opponent has to choose whether they stand on the objective but lose all of their defensive expertise and a strain, or they just step aside. Ron, I'll come to you first because I know Quinn's thoughts on this, but I absolutely love this one. I don't know your thoughts.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, to be fair. 9 times out of 10, I think people will take the dash. And, you know, I like that sort of play. I like fucking with my opponent's mind.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's really good. And the fact that it only costs 1 force is just even better.
Yeah, it's really good, isn't it? Quinn, thoughts?
I mean, as Ron said, it lets you fuck with your opponent's mind. And as has sort of been prevalent throughout this entire episode, I'm not a big control player. I do like to smash things with a hammer. But this is exactly the right kind of control for me. Like, it's control that allows me to punch things better. Which is okay by me.
Yeah, it's difficult to say, isn't it? Like, what do you choose? Like,
it's entirely context dependent. Like,
there's no answer to it, is there?
That there is like a definitive answer of this one is better.
Yeah. We've then got rocket boots, a power, a jump, or a force, a jump. It's nice, right? It gets him about, which is good, and we'll talk about him getting about right now. No one gets between me and my job. Cost 1 force, reactive ability. After another allied unit, so any allied unit makes a combat action, if this unit is not engaged, it may use this ability. Choose one of the targeted characters within range 4. One character in this unit deals 2 damage to the chosen character. Just 2 damage. So finish somebody's off. If none of the targeted characters are within 4, each character in this unit may jump toward one of the targeted characters. Quinn, thoughts?
I use this constantly. It is brilliant. I mean, obviously the damage output is great, especially when you combine it with the identity that we'll talk about a little bit earlier, because it is Cad doing that damage if you get a potential wound off. The jump makes him a lot more mobile than people, I think, will initially perceive him to be, especially in those early stages of the game where you're just sort of trying to get off the board.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree completely. And the fact it only costs 1, like 1 for a jump is fine, right? Like that's, you know, other than characters like the Mandalorians and like Django, then it's perfectly acceptable. And like you say, getting him up the board, being able to make those attacks early doors, is pretty darn good.
I mean, even potentially like jumping him onto a point he wasn't previously on just to swing it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the situation that came up in my first game with him. Phil like shoved him off a point, like down elevation, and then I did an attack on the other side of the board and just jumped forwards towards it and got straight back up there, which, yeah, is really cool. Obviously there is the downside of if you're engaged, then it gets turned off. So
Completely gets turned off. Yeah.
kind of fits the theme of Cad not wanting to get tied down by people. That's very much how he fights most of the time. He's very evasive.
And and it is important to note because this catches a lot. I've seen a lot of people being caught out by this, Quinn. Not necessarily with Cad, but with other examples talking about engaged. Just because a unit is wounded doesn't mean that you are no longer engaged with them.
I have this conversation at least twice an event.
Yeah, it's why it says like you can make a ranged attack if you are engaged with a wounded unit. You are still engaged with them. You can make an advance if you are engaged with a wounded unit. So you're still engaged. So even if the character that he's engaged with is wounded, he's not going to be able to use that. I think it's just an important, it's an important thing to mention, isn't it, Quinn? Because I think it's going to catch a lot of people out that.
And I understand that it frustrates a lot of people, and I do get that, because it does feel a little counterintuitive compared to like other games, especially from my perspective, something like Guild Ball. Engagement was very different in that, and I know there are a lot of Sharpshooter players that have come from Guild Ball, and basically they've gone through like the AMG pipeline of Guild Ball died, go to MCP, go to Shatterpoint.
Yeah, because we didn't have any engaged in MCP, did we? It was very, very different. Oh, apologies for that. So, yeah, just one thing I wanted to point out about that one. Ron, what's your thoughts on No One Gets Between Me and My Job?
I think it's really good. When I've used Cad, I think I've used it on every attack in the game. Force permitting. 2 damage or a jump, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's pretty darn good. And then let's talk about his lack of force, because for me, his identity, I'll take on any job for the right price, really does mitigate the fact that he only has 2 force. So when an allied character wounds an enemy unit, any ally, any enemy, after the effect is resolved, refresh 1 force, and 1 character in this unit, so not the person that does it, but in this unit, may heal. Then, if the allied character is a bounty hunter, refresh 2 force. So you can
refresh an additional.
Refresh an additional force. So you can use No One Gets Between Me and My Job. You can have 1 force left, pay for it, and refresh 2 force. If those last 2 damage is going to wound that character.
Like, if your attack falls shy by just a couple damage, there is no reason aside from, like, counterattacks like, I get... Vader is the only real example, or, something like Brave but Foolish triggering. There is no reason to not pay that 1 force, get the kill, and get it back, because you effectively have gained the same amount of force you would have gained if you had actually killed them on the attack, unless the attacker was a bounty hunter, which at the moment is only Django. Obviously, we're going to get 2 more bounty hunter units with this pack, but we don't know what they do at the moment.
We don't. We can assume that one of them is going to be a long-range specialist.
I think she's both.
Oh, you think she's going to be a 5, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, also, the model is, like, going, like, dual pistols with the sniper on her back. So I think she'll be kind of an all-rounder, is my guess.
I think she's gonna be I think we could see some of the highest damage output in... What's her name?
Aura Singh.
Aura Singh. I can never remember if it's Aura Song or Aura Singh, but it's Aura Singh, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, Ron, thoughts on I'll Take Any Job?
Oh, it's incredible. Wound someone, get a force, find him to get another force. Like, it's pretty dumb, to be fair.
We know 2 skills of Aura thanks to the rulebook.
We do indeed.
Which are, Quinn? Far away.
She has hit and run, which is after she makes a combat action, she can pay a force. She gets a reposition. Pretty good. The other one is it's like double the contract, double the pay, or something like that. But basically, after she makes a combat action, she can pay force. She immediately makes an attack against a different character. A character in a different unit to the target.
Oh.
Yeah, she gonna be good.
So, potentially one of the few characters, if not the only... No, I mean, there's a couple of characters who can wound multiple...
One of the few single character units that can wound multiple, because obviously supports can all do it at the moment.
Grievous was the other one I was thinking of with
Yeah.
his bladey thing. Bladey thing. Look, for me, I'm just happy we're seeing somebody with the Scoundrel and Bounty Hunter tag. That's all I needed to see. I think he's going to be really good. He is my kind of guy. That's all I will say. Let's scroll down then and take a look at his 2 stance cards. And needs no introduction, might be the best name of a stance card in the game as well. Ask you the question, guys. I gather this is going to be the bounty hunter theme potentially, or maybe it's mercenary. What's your thoughts on the grey as the colour palette for the cards?
It's a little washed out. Like I think, I don't know. They could have. You know how you get greys that have some sort of colour mixed in. Like you can have a green grey.
I mean, at that point, they're not grey, though, are they?
Well, no, they are grey. If you have greys,
you know how you get them greys. Do you know how you get them greys, but they're like green?
No, shut up. Let me explain myself. You fucking dick. Yeah, like if they had a mix of different sort of greys with colours, so you had sort of like some purpley greys, some like bluey greys, rather than the very, very neutral, just straight grayscale black to white, I think it would have just added a bit more visual interest. It's fine. It does what it needs to. It doesn't look as cool as the Imperial scheme.
It doesn't look as good as
will.
it doesn't look as good as the Imperial scheme. Like Vader and the Inquisitors look awesome, don't they? Yeah. Like they look really, really good. So needs no introduction. Again, range 4. Just because AMG spun the fucking wheel of what range does this character have, and he ended with a 4. 8-6 at range, 6-5 at melee. Damage output, we're looking at like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but with a whole bunch of mobility, control. There's heals in there, there's pins in there, 2 jumps in a combat tree, and only needing 5 results of 8 dice is pretty darn good. LL30 blaster pistols. I don't mind his expertise. I love seeing 1-for-1. I think it's really, really nice. 2 and 3 give you 1 and a strike, and then 4 plus obviously you get the 2 crits and a strike. His wristmount of flamethrower is okay. I think it's just okay. And then I'm really surprised at how good his defensive expertise is. 2 blocks for 1. And then if you do go over, you get a heal and a jump as well. And once again, another character that caps out at 5. Ron, what's your thoughts on that? And did you expect him to have such good defense?
I expected him to have a really good defensive expertise. Got over the fact that you hardly see him ever get hit.
Yeah.
Apart from when your boy hit him.
You know. The thing that surprised me the most is
the wrong thing.
The recover.
Yeah. Now, Quinn, we spoke about the fact that one of Cad Bane's things is those. For anyone that doesn't know, those mouthpieces that he has, those like neck pieces,
The tubes that sort of go
Yeah.
into like the base of his jaw.
to stop him from ever being force choked, aren't they?
Well, yeah,
because
they're-
even if he
they're
has his
addi-
windpipe crushed, he's got them in there as well.
Yeah, they're like a secondary breathing apparatus in essence. Yeah, like he's very much kitted out to be able to go toe to toe with force users, and every time you see him in his prime, that's what he's doing. And most of the time, he's winning those engagements because he's Cad fucking Bane.
Well, just because he doesn't have force doesn't mean that he isn't highly, highly, highly skilled and highly trained, right? So I'm wondering if those heals are kind of in there, and that defensive technique, that dogged tenacity, is kind of in there to sort of represent what he's done to himself to make himself that bit harder to kill.
I view it sort of less of him like, injecting himself with like Bacta stims or whatever, and more of just sort of like the precautions he's taken and the fact that the things that should be doing, what the combat tree would suggest, aren't having as big of an impact on Cad Bane because of that, right?
Yeah. Now, he is a character that you slap an expose on him and he's going to struggle. That's as we see with a lot of primaries when they're reliant on their expertise tree. As long as I get paid 7/7/6/6, so still pretty darn good. Thing that stands out for me on this is 6 damage from 3 results, which I think is very easy for him to achieve. But he's maxing out at a 9 damage up to 10. If you get it right with his flame-mounted, wrist-mounted flamethrower and get those 4 expertise.
No, his flame-mounted wrist thrower.
His flame-mounted wrist thrower. That is what we shall call it.
Does Cad have a flamethrower?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought he had the shock gauntlets.
He's got those as well.
He's got them as well,
got, the capture wire. He's got all the tricks,
He has
man.
all of the gear. He is the Batman.
he is Star Wars Batman, you're right.
But makes cooler entrances. I love the expertise that he gets on this side. I'd argue and say that for pure damage, this is, whilst you're rolling less dice at range, this is just going to be far more consistent at getting out some damage, especially with only needing those 3 results. Keeps the exact same. Actually, no, he doesn't. He does lose 1 defense, doesn't he, on his dogged tenacity. He loses 1 block.
As long as I get yeah, he gets less on the expertise, but he gets 1 additional in melee.
In melee, yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, Ron, what are your thoughts on Chad?
I think he's pretty good. I don't think he's Amidala good.
I would agree.
Pretty sad.
Yeah, I would agree.
Aura Sing is what will make this box make or break. It will be you either taking Cad on his own just because you love Cad Bane, or Aura Sing just makes it insanely good, and she should be.
She should be really good, yeah. So Sean's brought up a good point here, which is, do you feel that evaluating his force contribution needs to wait to see how hungry his squad is? And I would say yes, but we don't have them, so we can't fully evaluate it. For me right now, guys, I feel like you want to pair him with somebody who can either bring a lot of force, a la Dooku, or a Maul who is not using, brings 3 with him, but isn't using any of it himself. Because whilst he refreshes it, you still need the pool to be able to do the things that you want to do, right? Like, he can't sustain using all 3 of his abilities in a single run through of an order deck by himself. So I do think right now we probably want to pair him with other characters. Do we think that as a 5, there's a chance that any of his other pack bring a force with them?
No. The only way it could happen is if all is a 6, which I am very doubtful.
I don't think any secondary is going to bring force.
I think the fact that the force symbol's on there means that they haven't ruled out the possibility. But
I mean, Obi-Wan doesn't bring Force.
I was just going to say,
Kenobi,
but to be fair, he has disconnected from the Force at that particular snapshot in time, hasn't he?
He's got a Jedi mind trick.
Look,
Padawan
Checkmate,
Ahsoka.
atheist.
Barris.
Padawan Ahsoka, yeah, Barris, yeah.
So I think if any secondary were to do it, they would have to be ludicrously high-costed, like a 6-cost aura, but I don't think that that's what we're going to see.
I think a 6-cost aura, the problem with that is you can only play her with Cad Bane. And the fact she's a mercenary, for me, kind of goes against the whole point of being a mercenary if you only work with one person, right?
She doesn't tend to take contracts outside of the actual criminal world, though, in anything we've seen her in. So there's something to be said about, working with a Jabba, working with a Hondo, not necessarily working with these big powerhouse characters. But yeah, I once again, I do think it's doubtful that we'll see her as a 6.
Yeah.
Oh, she's definitely a 5.
I would say we're getting 5-4, right? For her and the...
She could be a 4 and the Battingers could be a 5.
I think she's going to be
like that.
I think she's
No
going to be a
one would,
heavy
but it
hitter.
is possible.
It's just like it's possible for it to be a 6th Ron.
No, it's not.
What it is physically, it's about as possible as those bounty hunters being a 5. Let's be honest.
Do you think his support will be 5 points so that Django can be swapped for his secondary in the pack? Now that is actually not a bad point from Sean, because they have
Sequin.
They have actually done that with, a few characters already, right? To make them much easier to interchange.
And it is 2 bounty hunters as a support. 2 bounty hunters is better than 2 clones.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
They're not even cool bounty hunters. It's like a weird devil guy and a bat dude.
The bounty hunters. They're going to have the bounty hunter tag.
I know, but how many bounty hunters do you see in Star Wars that are just absolute plebs?
0.
How many do you see that are absolute badasses?
Yeah, all of those ones have special names and would be named characters and individual units in this game. I
don't know. IG droids?
Yeah, they've got names. IG-88A, IG-88B.
Yeah, they are literally A, B, C, D, E.
Those are names. They're named characters. It's not generic bounty hunter number 583, is it?
No, but you can say that about any character in Star Wars, right? Every character has a name.
I mean,
Lucas always gave a character backstory in the name, right?
I don't think that was Lucas for the most part. That was people wanting to sell toys. And they walked up to him with a clipboard and went, "What's this character called? What's he do? What's this character called? What's he do?" And he'd make it up on the spot.
I like Michael's suggestion. Aura Singh 7 points and 2-point bounty hunters.
Aura Singh just has a caveat that is, you can include her in a squad and just have no support.
Yeah.
Just
Hello,
rock
Vader.
Up to a fight. Yeah, rock up to a fight with Anakin and Aura Singh, and that's all you need.
It probably is.
Why do you always say Anakin? It's Vader, bro.
No, because I don't like the current Vader we have in the game because he's fucking Republic for no reason.
Well, he wouldn't be. She wouldn't be able to go with the other Vader because he's going to be a 6, obviously.
It might even be a 5.
No,
But
5 is reserved for for only 2 characters in the entire Star Wars
Even those
universe.
guys aren't 5s.
I know, but they're the only ones that could be.
Well, Yoda's not that good.
Have a word with yourself, Ron.
Well, he's not, though, is he? He's not Sidious good.
He went toe-to-toe with him.
He
And
got
he lost.
absolutely bossed.
Yeah, he went toe-to-toe with him. He fucking lost. You can't go, they're equals. No, he absolutely clapped him.
I know, but Yoda's a 5.
He was throwing
I
Senate
remember
chairs at him
Yoda
for
from when I
crap.
was a kid. I think he's really cool. Piss off, Granddad.
Sidious would go in, Senate chair, Senate chair, Senate chair, and then it takes Yoda 10 seconds to stop one and make it spin. Little green blocker.
Darth Jar Jar will bring Force as a secondary. I mean, you're
Well,
assuming
Darth Jar Jar's a primary.
Darth Jar Jar's a primary, man, not a secondary. Yeah. Lucas did have it in his contract that he got all the merch as well. I think it was Alec Guinness.
Alec
was
Guinness
the one.
had like a percentage, yeah.
And it was a daft number, like 20% or something stupid.
I always remember it as being 10, but it might well. Like, very
But
well
it was
be 20.
when you think about how many fucking lunchboxes got sold, that it's a lot of money.
Well, one of the main reasons it fucked up Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher because they took a payout and Harrison Ford didn't.
Yep.
They're one of the only cast members that didn't.
Yeah. He made some money. They all made good money off that, let's be honest. None of them.
I mean, to be fair, right? I think Mark Hamill's made a lot more money off being the voice of the Joker for the past, like 30 years.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. How much money was in that dump truck that Disney reversed down his drive when they went, "Will you come back as Luke, please?" I'd love to know what he got paid for episode 7 when he was literally in it for what? 30 seconds?
Probably Google it.
Well, I'm not gonna.
I want to know how much he got paid for being in What We Do in the Shadows.
I reckon he'd have done that for free because that's the kind of guy that he is.
So good.
But yeah, overall thoughts, guys, on Chad.
Very good, but also very dependent on how good the other two are.
Yeah, I agree.
He's exactly what I wanted him to be, and I don't know why you're both being so down on him.
No, I'm not being down on him at all.
You are. Compared to fucking Padme, you are.
Well, because
Padme is not that fucking good.
Padme's just better. Am I more excited about playing Cad Bane? 100% yes. Am I going to play more Cad Bane?
Better,
Absolutely yes. It doesn't mean that Padme isn't better.
I don't think she's better.
I mean,
it's okay to be wrong.
You can be wrong.
Good that you're both accepting that you're wrong.
Is this what it feels like? I'm usually on the other side of this.
Yeah, but the thing is, once again, as always, I'm still right.
You're not.
Well, I mean, you are the former number one.
I mean, I still haven't lost to the current number one, unlike someone. Yeah.
At least
the double-bladed dagger you've just like put between us.
This is true.
Tell us about the event. What happened?
Oh my word!
How did Doxy brutalize you, Richard?
So
show us on the doll where he touched you.
Where did he touch you? So, for anyone that doesn't know, we had our first Shatterpoint event at the weekend. We were over at. Let's just change this over to here for a second. We were over at Leodis Games. 14 there in total, which was pretty nice, especially during the summer holidays. And a couple of last minute dropouts, but that was fine. First game, and by the way, I took my Mother Talzin and Darth Maul with Mandalorian's list. First game was really, really good. Second game was really close. Third game, I played against Michael Bywood. He got very unlucky with his
Grievous Luminara.
Yeah, I mean, he did have Grievous Luminara. He got very unlucky with the selection on the third struggle, which just meant that it was over within a couple of activations, really. So it was me and Doxy in the final, and we played it out. I won the first one, but the first struggle went on for the first struggle went on for about an hour and a half, and Doxy won the first one. But it was one of those, you guys must have had it where you're literally up to your momentum token with the struggle token like 3 or 4 times, and you can just never quite pull it over.
And they're
constantly getting momentum, and they're constantly catching you up every single activation, and you pulling it back, you can never quite get it over again, so they're getting momentum, so actually it's swinging in their favour. So it was one like that. But really, really good. I mean, I wounded 4 of his characters in the first struggle, but still wasn't able to get it over the line. I think we went through the deck twice in the first struggle. It was absolutely brutal. Second struggle, I scored out in 3 activations. Like, it was the wounds that I put on him really came into effect in that second struggle. I was able to score out really, really quickly. And then the third struggle came up. It was kind of central with 1 point off to the side. It was back and forth and back and forth. We hit mission critical. In fact, we'd already hit mission critical during the second struggle, and we only had about 10 minutes left. People wanted to get home. We'd snuck in a 4th round just so we did have a decider or a deciding winner. So we were speed playing it, and it got to the point where I looked at my score tracker. I needed to score 4, and that's all I saw. All I saw was I needed to score 4 points. I already controlled 2, and I already controlled 1, and the one that I controlled was the priority. So I was already getting 2. Pulled my first character, and it was the Mandalorian Super Commandos. They were the 2 that were controlling the other point. If I moved them off, I would have lost control of that point. So put them in my reserve list. And I had basically the characters I were looking for were Savage Opress, Darth Maul, or ideally Mother Talzin. Mother Talzin could have... It was a guaranteed win with Mother Talzin because obviously she can just walk somebody off a point. Anyway, went with pulled Savage Opress. I had to go with him. He was already engaged with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan on full health. I had 3 or 4 force left, whatever it was. And I did his active ability that puts a... puts a... what's it called? Exposed token on.
Damage,
and did 3 damage to Obi-Wan. So I was like, okay, I've got this. Because in my head, I'd got 1 point from the kill, or 1 point from the wound, and then he can literally just use his last force, or last 2 force, to just walk onto the point. It was being controlled by a commander, but they were wounded. So walk on, and I can take the point. So anyway, he has the absolute roll of his life. Not a single miss. Maxes out his expertise tree. One-shots Obi-Wan. I move him over. I go to shake James's hand. I say, well done, mate. And he went, what do you mean? I went, well, I'm scoring out. I get the 1 momentum. Shit, I'm already on full momentum. So I'd got it in my head I needed 4. And I did it as a 3 and a 3 and a 1. But I couldn't score any more momentum. So unfortunately, I couldn't do anything with it. And then at that point, it put me on 0. So it gave him a momentum, which meant that then he rolled the dice. It was his objective that he owned already was the was the priority one, and all he had to do was just walk a character up to a point and take it. So, yeah, it was such a good game though. Very, very reminiscent, Quinn, of like the game we had over at the Honest Wargamers the other week, where it was like absolute minutiae detail that was the difference between the win and the loss. Or a single dice here and a single dice there. It was very, very good, but yeah, very, very frustrating when I realised I'd messed up.
And trusted you with one job.
You did tell me I had one job, yeah, but it was really, really good. Highly, highly recommend. Yes, I know we all play a lot on TTS, but there's nothing quite like getting in there in person and playing this game in person, is there? It's so much fun.
It's a lot easier to knock over the terrain.
It is a lot easier to knock over the terrain. Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, there we go, guys. Hopefully, next Wanna Wanga, we will have some secondaries and some supports to go through. Knowing AMG, it'll probably be Padmé's first, because they seem to do this like weird alternating thing where the last one.
Sometimes they do it and sometimes they don't. Like there
Again,
doesn't seem to be any
spin the dartboard of who we're going to reveal next and lob a dart, and there we go. We might get Honda. Who the fuck knows?
I hope so.
But there we go, guys. One final thing, actually, that we do have to do, and we did forget this from the Bugle actually last week as well, but we're just going to do the Shatterpoint one this week, is the winner of last week's painting competition. And it was General Grievous's. I don't know who picked it, but I picked my favourite just because.
I mean, I picked as Ron's proxy.
Okay, so I'm
Because at the
choosing as
time-
Ron's proxy as well. Perfect.
Yeah, because at the time Ron had been painting up Grievous, so I felt like that was the thing to go for.
Yeah. So I chose Like a Prophet. I'm not always for alternative paint schemes. I'm a bit of a sucker for doing it like the box art, but I really, really did like this Sith Grievous. I thought it looked really, really good. I loved the work on the base. Loved the sort of fade from a really dark red up to like almost an orange on the lightsaber. I love the little sort of face paint on his face there. And yeah, I thought it was a really, really nice paint job. Using the statue, which, as we've learnt, is the easiest way to build and paint up Grievous, isn't it, Ron? Trying to put him on anything else is not the easiest, is
I think
it?
it took me longer. To get him. It took me longer to build the legs than it did for me to do everything else, including painting. I think it took me 3 days to get it right.
Yeah, so Like a Prophet, well done, buddy. Congratulations, you'll get put on our wall of fame. And Ron, because you weren't here for the last one and we've kind of taken your privilege away from you, you've still got plenty. You're a white heterosexual man, don't worry about it. But taking your privilege away from you, I'll let you pick again this time round. So who would you like to pick as our character or squad or strike team or whatever it may be?
What have been the last few? It's all been separatist stuff, hasn't it?
Yeah.
We've had quite a lot of separate. I did pick
Grievous.
Ahsoka's. I picked
Okay.
Ahsoka's, so we have had Ahsoka's.
Go on then. Let's see Captain Rex.
Captain
Oh,
Rex.
nice. OG core box. I like it. So this week's one, guys, is Captain Rex. You don't need to paint it this week. Most people will have their Rexes painted, so that's fine. But yeah, show us your Captain Rexes. I want to see some good base work. I want to see some nice weathering, Ron. I know you're a sucker for some weathering on some clones.
I am.
Quinn, what do you look for in a good clone?
Light armor.
Helmets.
Helmets.
Yeah,
Oh, so you
ain't
don't wanna
having
see any
of this
faces?
unhelmeted shit. No, I don't want to see their faces. Ew.
It does make me laugh because, like, they're going into combat. Who goes, yes, I shall not wear the thing that will protect my head, maybe the most vital part of my body.
I mean, you say that like people don't ride motorbikes without helmets all the time.
I think you'll find idiots
Yeah.
ride motorbikes without
Well,
helmets on.
I therefore answered your question as to who does that in a combat situation.
That is true. That is true. There we go, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode of the Wanna Wanga. Just want to give a big shout out to Leodis Games, the sponsor of the channel. There's a link down in the description below for a discount on your first order there. Whether it's Leodis or anybody else, support your local gaming stores. Like, especially, now we're all able to go back and play games in there and stuff as well, so try and support them wherever you can. I also want to say a big thank you to all the Patreons. You can support us for a little £1 a month. Again, link down in the description below. The TTS League is well underway now. All three of us, actually, we didn't talk about this, all three of us won our first game, 4 including Phil. Hey, Phil.
Don't talk to Phil about PTS League games.
Oh,
I think he's just lost his
game?
second one.
Oh, Phil. You're never going to get that positive win rate back, are you? Have you seen what we've done to him on the Discord, Ron? What his name is?
It's the Swedish Troll because he changed it back.
Oh, has he changed it back? Boo. But yeah, so the TTS League is well underway. I'm actually going to be playing my game at 10:30 tonight, and it will be streamed against my fucking nemesis. So let's see if I can beat Alex in the fourth time of asking. We'll have to.
The
wait
answer is
and
no,
see.
you can't.
He was really ill the other day. He went. He's gluten intolerant. Went for. This is why he couldn't come to the Shatterpoint event. Went to a restaurant, ordered gluten-free pasta, and some fucking idiot in the kitchen gave him normal, regular pasta.
Well, that's what you get for having a made-up condition.
Don't you have this, Quinn?
No.
Oh yeah, have you seen the way he fucking eats chips?
You see me eat bread. Like a fucking duck, mate.
But there we go, guys. I am catching up with the audio versions of the podcast. I think all but the last episode are up now. I am trying. I just forget. I like
how you're saying this like the audio people will hear this
I know.
after you've
I
already
know.
fixed it.
Well, it's an apology to them. So hopefully I'll try and get the last 2 episodes up today and tomorrow. So there. Excellent. Guys, we're going to leave it there. I'm going to go play some MCP. So until next time, stay well, keep safe, and may the force